Hi guys, my name's Susie. I have a little business called Wags and Nags, which offers dog walking, horse work and yard services, and also house sitting. So I'll be talking to you a bit today about why I set the business up in the first place, and also what I did before starting Wags and Nags. And hopefully, once you've seen what goes on in the day-to-day life of a dog walker and a pet sitter, it might inspire a few of you to go down this career path in the future. Who knows? So a little bit about me as a person. I don't come from a particularly animal-y family or horsey family or anything, but I pestered and pestered to be able to ride, and mum and dad finally gave in when I was 4. I had my first lesson, and then never really stopped. So used to hang out at the riding school stables. I'm not going to say helped out because I don't think we were very much help at that age, but was probably there pretty much every weekend from being around 7 or 8, and just kind of hung around with the ponies and mucked out and groomed and just really basic stuff, but had loads of fun doing it. And got my first dog when I was 11. I had a little border collie puppy, so she was really, really good fun growing up with. And being a collie, she was super intelligent, so to keep her stimulated, we went to behaviour classes, we did agility classes, and just generally she was my little best mate that she came everywhere with me. And I think that's probably what sparked my real interest in dogs and that side of things for me. So education-wise, I finished school and didn't really know what to do. I didn't know what career I was interested in at all. Most of the careers advice we were given was all the quite academic jobs, and if you didn't want to be a doctor, a lawyer or a vet, you didn't really get very much help at school, I don't think. So I went off to uni to do a degree and did animal behaviour and welfare, because I thought, if I'm going to carry on with this learning, I want to at least do something that I'm interested in, and then it might not feel quite so much like learning, it might be more fun. So that's what I did, and it was fun. We had an amazing time at uni, and I'm glad I've got that degree, even though I'm not directly using it or ever have really used it particularly, but I'm glad I've got it. So then after uni, I finished and was able to walk straight into a horse job, so was really, really lucky in that sense. So just kind of keeping it quite simple, after leaving uni, I managed it was like a riding school, but for experienced riders. So I've been in that kind of environment, and also actual riding schools. I never did my teaching qualifications, so I was more the yard work side of things and the yard management side of things, but that was always really good fun. That's an eye-opening experience in a busy riding school. You got to learn to be mega organised in a job like that. There's so much going on. Also been involved in carriage driving. That's another massive part of my life that really, really enjoyed and taught me so much. And the lady I worked for was actually disabled, and she was on the Great Britain para drivers team. So we went over to Europe a few times and Ireland competing with her. So really, really good experiences, and kind of going to stay away shows and that kind of thing. You could be on the road for a couple of weeks at a time. So really, really good experiences to have in life. And then I've also been involved quite a lot in hunting. So again, another completely different aspect of horses. So yeah, that's kind of horses have been life really. And each job has taught me something very different. From turnout, like the hunting and the carriage driving, the horses have to be absolutely immaculate. That's a huge part of both of those jobs. so plaiting and just generally making them look at their very best, and keeping them very fit as well. They've got to be mega fit for both of those roles. And then, yeah, like I say, the riding school teaches you to be organised, because if you're not organised and you're not on time for lessons and things, you're going to be in big trouble. So, yeah, just useful to have been able to use all those skills and learn something from each of the jobs. So, yeah, it'd always been horses, always been about horses. I'd had dogs of my own at home, but work-wise, just horses all the way through. Before I started Wags and Nags, I was working in a horsey job for a hunting family, and I loved my job, but it was just getting to the point, it was the end of winter, and I was thinking, I don't know if I want to do another year of this. It's very, very hard work, horses are in winter, and I didn't want to get to the point where I wasn't enjoying it, because work's such a massive part of our lives. I don't know why anyone would want to do a job that they didn't enjoy. So started thinking about what other things were out there and what else could I do. And I had a bit of a panic and thought, I've never had like a real job, as I call it. I've never had a 9 to 5. I've always been outside. I've always had the animals in my life. And I thought, I don't really know what else I would want to do apart from this. So eventually I realised that if I still didn't know what I wanted to do, I would just make a job up. And that's what I ended up doing. I thought, well, what do I enjoy? What am I good at? And that's how Wags and Nags came about. I thought, if I want a new job, I'm going to have to make one up that suits what I want to do. So initially I thought, I'll give this a go for a year, see how I get on, and if it looks like it's going to work, then I'll carry on. And I was desperate to make it work, because I just really didn't want to have to do a real job. So yeah, luckily I was set up a year before COVID hit, so I know that in like normal circumstances, business was really, really good. And although this year has been a lot slower because of COVID, it has still been ticking over. But I know that once things get back to normal again, business will be back on track, luckily. Before you start in a business like this, I think it's important to look at where your skill sets lie, and what it is that you're confident in doing. So there'd be no point offering services unless you were 100% confident in your capabilities. For example, if you weren't comfortable handling young horses, there would be no point offering that as a service. You'd have to be honest with yourself and with your potential clients that perhaps wasn't a job that you felt happy doing. Just for safety, really, there's no point being cocky about it and saying, oh, I can handle anything, if actually you've never had that experience before. And same with dogs. If a client approached you with a reactive, like a large breed reactive dog, if you weren't comfortable handling the dog, there would be no point taking on that job. So just look at where your abilities are and tailor your business around that. So like I said before, this sort of industry isn't regulated, so there's no formal qualification that you have to have done before you could set up, although it does look better when you're attracting clients if you have got some kind of educational background or practical experience that you can prove to people that you are knowledgeable. But the important thing is insurance. You have got to be insured for all sorts of eventualities. Public liability in case one of the animals that is in your care were to cause an accident. And also because you're holding people's keys. Lots of the clients will give me a house key when I first take the job on. So you need to have insurance to be covered. If I was to lose a key, for example, I would be covered to have locks changed and that kind of thing. I also have a DBS certificate, which is basically like a criminal records check. So just so that whoever's giving me keys to their home knows that I don't have any previous criminal history, because that's quite important that people trust you. You are taking on a lot of responsibility. So insurance and a DBS certificate, I think, are the main things that you would need. And then as far as equipment goes, good walking boots. You're going to spend a lot of time on your feet, and there's no point having kind of cheap, uncomfortable footwear on. That's something that I do spend quite a lot of money on, so that I know I'm comfortable. And just the right clothing, basically, so that you're always dressed for the weather. There's nothing worse than having what you think is a waterproof coat on and then finding out, 10 minutes into a walk, it's not waterproof. Otherwise you stay cold and wet for the rest of the day, and it makes for a miserable working life, which nobody wants. So yeah, equipment for you, making sure you're kitted out properly. And poo bags. You need a lot of poo bags. And apart from that, there's not really a great deal that you need before you actually get going. So kind of relatively speaking, in business terms, it is a cheap business to get yourself set up in. So that's a definite bonus. The insurance even isn't particularly expensive, but that's probably the only 100% necessary thing that you need, and anything else you would be able to budget for as you got going. And then advertising, that's something else to think about. Where would you advertise? I've found that good old Facebook has been the best place for me, and word of mouth. So again, virtually free to get going. Starting with the dog walking side of things, I only offer single walks or dogs from the same household. I don't offer group walks like some dog walkers do. I will occasionally take my own dogs with me, and they'll tag along if the owners are happy, but generally it is just dogs from the same household. So dog walking, it's almost as simple as it sounds, although you kind of need to have a reasonable understanding of behaviour and training, even if you're not offering training as part of your walks, which I don't. I think if the owner specifically wants their dog training, I would send them to a professional trainer. That's not something I'm claiming that I can do, but it is good to know that you've got a basic level of recall and control over the dog if you're going to be letting them off the lead, but also to have a basic knowledge of dog behaviour, at least, whether that's just from your own experience or whether that's a qualification that you've done, because there's all sorts of issues that you could encounter when you were out with a client's dog, and it's important to know how to deal with them. So you could have a reactive dog that you're walking, and you need to know how to deal with that. Or the dog you're walking could be fabulous, but you might come across an aggressive dog that's off its lead and out of control, and you need to know how to deal with that and cope with that safely, so that one, you're not putting yourself at risk, and two, you're not putting your client's dog at risk as well. So I do think it is important to have that kind of level of understanding of how to cope with certain situations. Because actually the dog walking industry isn't regulated, so anybody could set up and become a dog walker. You don't have to have any official qualifications. There's no exam that you need to take. There's no certificate to say that that you're capable. And I think in the future that might change, and it may become a regulated industry. But at the moment, there is nothing to stop anybody from setting up. So if you have got qualifications, that will kind of put you above somebody who just thinks, oh, dogs are nice, I could make a living out of walking a few dogs in a day. If you have got the qualifications, you're more likely to attract clients than somebody who just wants to do it to earn a bit of side income. And I think it's just important. It's important to understand how the dogs are reacting to certain situations. So typically in a day I will do probably 3 walks, and then home visits as well. So not everybody wants the dog walking. It may just be that that they're at work during the day and they just need somebody to let them out at lunchtime and give them a bit of a fuss and a play. But generally I'll probably do 3 walks a day, which is quite a lot of mileage. It does keep me pretty fit. The horse side of Wags and Nags is quite a big part of the business, and I can be mucking out, poo picking, bathing horses and platting ready for shows or for hunting, cleaning tack, lunging them for exercise. I don't actually offer ridden exercise anymore. I used to, but I decided that the risk factor was probably quite big now, and if I was to have an accident riding someone else's horse that meant that then I couldn't work, it was too big of an impact on my business, and I just daren't risk it. So just general yard duties, but also sort of freelance grooming for stay away shows and that kind of thing. So there's plenty of opportunities depending on where your skills lie with horses. So the final part of Wags and Nags is the house sitting side of things, which I really love doing, and I've missed doing through COVID because obviously people aren't going on holiday, so I haven't been needed. But so it used to be quite normal to put your dog or cat into the kennels if you went away, but I think now people are they're probably happier knowing that they've got somebody that can move into their house and look after not just the animals, but also the property as well. So it's just a bit of security and peace of mind for people when they're away, that there is somebody there if anything was to go wrong. And it means that the animals are kept in their normal routines and their familiar surroundings. So it's kind of less stressful for them as well. So I've stayed in some enormous country houses. I've stayed in terraced houses in Grimsby. Each job is different, and I think that's why I really enjoy doing it. You do get to see places that you wouldn't normally get to. So it's like a little mini holiday for me when I'm staying somewhere different. And I do keep the regular jobs on, the dog walking and the yard work. I still do those as well when I'm house sitting. But I just make sure that I always get back to the house at least once during the day, so that their animals, if they've got a dog at home, for example, that they're not left for too long during the day. So, I can still work the rest of my business around it, and it fits in. It fits in well. The only thing I would say, it's not a job for you if you don't enjoy being on your own, or if you get scared easily, like it turns out I do. I made the mistake once. I was staying in a massive house in the middle of nowhere, And this place obviously had a lot of history, and I was just quite interested to know what the building was and what it had been used for. And I made the mistake of Googling it, only to find that I was staying in one of Lincolnshire's most haunted houses. So that was a really long week where I barely slept. I didn't see any ghosts, but I was pretty terrified once I'd read all the stories on Google. So I've never done that again. But, you know, it can be quite a lonely job. And you do have to be comfortable staying in, you know, quite often very remote places, farmhouses and that kind of thing. It is quite a big responsibility, but it's a part of the job that I do really enjoy. One of the reasons that doing horses and dogs mainly works well together is because generally people want their horses doing first thing in the morning and then again like later afternoon, early evening, and people want their dogs doing during the middle of the day. So it works well to combine the two. So a general day for me, I'll start around 7:30, 8 o'clock, depending which yard I'm going to. Get mucked out and the horse is sorted there, whatever jobs I've got to do. And then usually there's probably a couple of hours work, depending which yard I'm at. I've got 1 or 2 dogs whose owners are at home all the time, and so they're flexible with what time I get to them. So depending on what else is in the diary, I can fit them in around my other jobs. But then the lunchtime dogs start usually at about 11 o'clock. So depending what time people leave for work in the morning, everybody kind of wants the same time slot. So I try and do it that the people who leave earlier, they get their dogs seen to earlier, just so there's not too long where the dogs are on their own and shut in at home. So usually I'll have probably 2 walks over lunchtime, and then the others will be home visits. So you need to kind of work your timings out in your diary that you know you've got time not just to do the actual walk or the visit, but to drive between them as well. So that's one thing to think about when you're taking on new bookings, is that they fit into the plan that you've already got, so that you're not running late, sort of trying to drive between everyone. So once I've finished the lunchtime rush, then I'll generally have another dog to walk in the afternoon, one of the kind of flexible ones, and then back to horses later on in the afternoon or early evening. If I'm house sitting, then that means either getting up earlier in the morning to do whatever animals they've got at the house sit, and then probably finishing quite a lot later in the evening as well once you've sorted those out. And as well, if they've got dogs to do at that job, getting back to the dogs at least once during the day, depending on how long I'm going to be gone for, so that their animals aren't left for too long either. Eating is generally done on the run. You know, there isn't generally time to go home and have a proper lunch or anything. So generally that's kind of pack up in the car or stop to shop if you're driving near a shop. So yeah, it is a job where you have to be prepared to be pretty much on the go all day long. But that's, you know, no day is a typical day. Most days, even though, you know, you plan everything down to the letter, generally something happens at some stage during the day that means that plans change a little bit. So yeah, you just have to be a bit flexible and not panic and flap about things if something does go wrong, and you know, just get round everybody as soon as you can and get everybody walked. So every day, that's what makes it interesting. Every day can be quite different, but it does make for a really fun job. There's a a lot of good bits. I don't know where to start. So, I mean, to begin with, you're working outside all day with other people's animals. I mean, what's not to love about that? You form a great bond with them all. They all end up kind of becoming an extension of your own family. So I kind of always think I'm really lucky that, normal people will have maybe a dog in their life that they have a great connection with. I've got 20. So, count myself really lucky that I get to spend all day doing the job that I love. And there's the benefits to working outside when you've got friends that are stuck in an office in the middle of summer and you're walking around in your shorts and trainers. And there's certainly no need to pay for a gym membership when you're doing a job like this. It does keep me pretty fit. Normally, by the end of the day, I have a Fitbit watch, and by the end of the day, a typical busy day, I can have done, maybe 15 miles. So you do put some steps in. It does definitely keep you fit. And then there's the perks to being self-employed and having your own business. So you work the business around your life and you put the hours in that you want to do. So that is a definite good bit. And although it can be, a fairly lonely job because you're working on your own, you do actually end up meeting a lot of new friends. A lot of my customers have since become good friends because they're putting their trust in you to look after their animals. So you do get to form quite a good bond with them. So there are a lot of good bits to my job. I would say I get up and go to work every day feeling pretty happy and pretty positive. And like I said before, I don't understand why people do a job that makes them unhappy. To me, it's a no-brainer. If you can be happy in your work, that's a real bonus in life. There aren't many bad bits to this job, but I can't pretend it is all sunshine and rainbows because I'm recording this today on a snow day. But the weather is probably the biggest thing that I come up against. There are days when you wake up in the morning and it is pouring with rain and you're lying in bed thinking, why do I work outside? I want to be in an office in the snug and warm. But actually, like I said before, if you've got all the right gear, if you've got all the right waterproofs and boots and stuff on, once you get outside, generally, you don't really notice. And, you just kind of have to crack on with it. Probably get more good days than bad days weather-wise, so there's not too much to complain about in that sense. The other bad thing, and this goes for working with animals in any capacity, is that we get massively attached to them and sometimes we lose them unexpectedly, and that can be really sad because the animals that you're working with, even though they're not your own, you do get really, really attached to them. And I've had one or two in the last year that older dogs that have had to be put down, and horses. I've always said that I'll help owners with their pets if they don't want to be there when the time comes to have them put down. So that is something that I offer to do, which is a little bit weird to some people that you're offering to be there when they're put to sleep. But I always think if the owner doesn't feel that they can be, at least the pet's got somebody there with them that they know and that they trust and whatever. So yeah, a bit of a weird part to the job, and a very sad part, but something that I feel is kind of only the right thing to do. So yeah, that's not such a good bit when you lose the animals that you love. Apart from that, I don't think there are many bad bits. Tax returns, that's a definite bad bit. That is a definite downside of being self-employed, is having to do all the rubbish forms and things like that. But you know, it's only once a year, and if you're organised, it's not too painful. But yeah, really can't say that there are too many bad bits to this job at all. In terms of what makes a good pet sitter, I think there's a lot of people out there who would really enjoy this type of work, or like it's a lifestyle really, especially when you go down the house sitting route, it does turn into a lifestyle. But I think you need to be someone who's honest and trustworthy, because you're being given access to people's homes and houses, and you're looking after their animals. It's their babies. Reliable. You can't be waking up in the morning and thinking, oh, I don't feel that well today, or I think I'm going to cancel everyone, because there's people completely relying on you. So, literally, unless your leg's hanging off and you can't walk, you kind of need to go to work no matter what. So, yeah, you've got to be reliable. But I think generally animal-y people are of that kind of mindset. It is hard work, so be prepared to put some graft in and some miles in. If you're not someone who enjoys exercise, probably not the job for you. You need to be kind of confident in your own abilities. When you go and do a meet and greet with a new client, you're kind of selling yourself and selling your skills. So be confident in yourself that you're good at what you're doing. And just generally someone who doesn't mind being on their own, because it can be quite a lonely job. Although the customers that you take on, a lot of them may end up becoming your friends, but you don't see them every day. A lot of the time you're going in, that's why they need you, because they're not there. So there are days when I'll get home at the end of the day and think, I haven't actually spoken to a person all day today. I've rabbited along to dogs all day, but haven't actually spoken to a person. So if you're someone that doesn't enjoy being by themselves, it's probably not a good kind of career choice. But if you're someone that, is happy being outside and doing their own thing, then it's something I would certainly recommend and would look into for the future. So I hope I've sold the idea of this kind of business to you. But if there's any other questions, if there's something that I haven't covered that you'd like to know more about, or something that I've maybe touched on and have waffled through it and haven't gone into enough detail, then I think we're going to do a follow-up video where you can ask some questions, and I'll be able to put the answers together and get back to you. So yeah, thank you for listening to me rabbit on for all this time. I hope it's been interesting, and wish you all the best of luck in whatever you do decide to do.